Hi, I'm a forester here, and today I want to compare two knife sharpening systems. I have a new system, this Wicked Edge, that I bought probably 3 weeks ago. I've really enjoyed learning how to use this on a range of knives with different steels and also different angles. So there's a lot to learn if you get a system like this, but it's a lot of fun to use it and learn. What I've used for the bulk of my life is just basically an Arkansas stone. This is just a small one that I've had that I use mainly with pocket knives, and this is a fairly fine texture. Now for most of my knives, I don't really have to put them on a stone. I can use a steel like this one and just touch them up after each use, and they never do really get dull. So the steel is good enough for most purposes or most knives that I own. But what I want to do is compare the sharpness that I get by using this steel to the sharpness that I get with this Wicked Edge, because there is a big difference in price between these two systems. I have two knives that I'm going to test with it. One is a Spyderco Delica. I've had this knife for probably 3 years, and it has VG10 steel. I love this steel. It holds an edge for a long time, and I've never had to do any major work retouching that edge. The other knife that I'm going to use is a fairly cheap steel. This is 8 CR13 MOV steel, and this is the Kershaw Crown. I've had this knife probably a couple of years, and I've never carried it much because basically it's just a little bit too heavy for me. But what I've done, and I could show you the pile of cardboard over here to the side, I've been working with both of these, cutting up cardboard, and I'll cut up just a little bit more just to prove the point. And I've got them both to where they're not dull, but there's resistance going through the cardboard. Okay, so I'm fairly convinced that they are fairly dull. Let's prove the point and show you that. Okay, this is the Delica on just some regular paper, and it's just tearing it and sliding off. And when I started, I was going through this fairly easily. Now let's go to the Kershaw Crown, see if it does the same thing. Yep. And this was extremely sharp when I started. So it made a clean cut there, but basically both of these knives are fairly dull and would need at least to be touched up on the steel. Okay, what I'll do right now, and I won't bore you with watching me do the sharpening, but I'll put them on the steel and come right back to you. See you in a minute. All right, I'm just finishing up with this Spyderco Delica. It's taken a good bit more work with the Delica than it did with that Kershaw Crown. This VG10 I've never sharpened before, really, other than just putting it on this steel a little bit, and it took a lot more work to get it to where I felt like it was reasonably sharp. And I started on the stone and then ended up on this steel. But let's call it quits right there and see where it stands, where we stand. I'm just going to do a simple paper cut test, and let's start with the Delica. Yeah, tore a little bit there, and it turned up on the end there. So you can see it's reasonably sharp. I would be satisfied with that. Actually, it was a lot sharper than that for out of the box and for the most of the time that I used it. But now this crown sharpened up a lot easier. I started on the stone, finished up on the steel, and it took a lot less effort to get it to where I felt like it was sharp. I think you can tell from the sound as well as just watching that that's a lot sharper. And I got it to that point a lot easier. So that makes a good point also that sometimes you don't need a super steel. Fairly cheap, inexpensive steel will do just fine, and you can sharpen it up a lot easier. Well, now what I'm doing is comparing these two systems. So that's the edge that the working edge that I would get with a stone and a steel. Now what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to show it on video because it would just take too long, I'm going to put both of these knives and put the best edge I can on them with the wicked edge. I'm going to start with the coarsest stones, 100, 200, go up to 400, 600, 800, 1000, and then put it on the leather strops. And I'll be back. We'll see if we can tell, just using paper, whether the edge is that much finer. I'll see you in a minute. All right, I'm just finishing up with the 1000 grit stones. And I'm going to take these off. And the only thing left to do is really the leather strops. This process takes maybe about 5 minutes. I'm going to remove all the grit from those stones. Now, these leather strops come with 5mm grit or 5 micron grit and 3.5 micron. I think I'm reading that right. So I'm going to do the 5 micron first. And I have this set on 20-degree angles for each side. And the way I do it, I don't know if this is the correct way, but I do 5 times on each side. Then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. Okay, that's the 5 micron. I'm going to turn it over, do the 3.5 micron, and then we'll take the blade out of the vise and then try them out, see how sharp those edges are. All right, I'm back. I just finished up the Spyderco Delica on the wicked edge, and I think I'm going to be pleased with it. I tried it just off camera, and it's pretty sharp. Now I'm going to try it on camera and show you, and just to let you know what I did, I went through the whole set of stones from 100 all the way up to 1000, and then I put it on the leather strops. And I'll rotate that blade and let you see if you can see that polished edge. There are a couple places where it's hard to get. One is right up here at the very end of the blade. The way Spyderco makes their knives, it's hard to get that. And then on this particular one, I saw a little problem up here on the very tip, and I'm not really sure why, but I'm still just learning how to use these. And let's try it on a piece of paper. I think you can obviously tell the difference. That's razor sharp. Okay, that's VG10 steel. Let's try the Kershaw Crown, which was a lot easier to work with, a lot easier to sharpen, but a lot cheaper steel, softer steel. And let's see how it works on just regular paper. And personally, I can tell a difference. I think this is actually sharper than the VG10. The VG10 is just going to take a little while, a lot longer to sharpen, maybe a little more knowledge. But there you have it. I've made a mess here, but I'm pleased with the wicked edge. Now, it's fairly expensive. You can look it up and see what it cost. It's a lot more expensive than the old traditional way of using stones and steels, and probably at least twice as expensive. But I think this would make a great Christmas gift for a knife person. If you're a spouse and you're within the sound of my voice, you might want to look at the wicked edge for your husband. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.